I always love coming back to Singapore because this is where my family and friends are.
Yeah.
And where I can get my favorite food, so yeah, I'm really happy to be back. I like chicken rice a lot. I'll eat it every day, all my meals if I have to for a week.
Really?
Well, not necessarily. But my husband can cook a really good chicken rice dish, so I'm pretty much all set in LA when I need my fix.
Oh, there you
So
go.
it's not too bad. Really excited. It's a beautiful venue. Lots of, we were given a tour, we took a look around. I went to the Cloud Forest. It was
The
beautiful.
Cloud Forest.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Waterfall.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful setting to just reflect and to just, sort of think and just to be and to just, it opens itself for reflection, and I think it goes well with music. Yeah, usually a venue will affect the way that you feel about the music and about how you portray it, and how it does affect the way that people in the audience feel too.
Okay.
When they're in the midst of nature, I'm sure it opens up a different feeling, like when you're under the stars, versus if you are in a smoky, environment in a closed club. So the openness of the space, I'm sure it will lend itself well to music. So I'm happy to be doing it. I'm really quite humbled by that, and quite I'm happy. Glad to know that that I've still got my
Magic.
the listeners are really supportive of the music that I make, and it's great. I find that I look at things with a more childlike wonder through her eyes, because she will focus on something like the moon or a butterfly or a flower, and she'll notice it in things that I wouldn't notice, like even in a daytime sky when you usually wouldn't notice the moon. She would look up and she'd say, "Mama, the moon," and I'd look up and there's the moon in a silhouette, but she notices these things. So it's amazing that she brings such joy to my life. And I never knew that joy before, so it's something that has really helped me to grow as a person, and I hope it translates to the songs as well. And in the way that she's taught me how to love, and to just to learn about the value of sacrifice, because the first few months were really quite rough. You hear about the proverbial just having to stay up late nights and take care of the kid. It's all true. You definitely go for many days, if not months, for maybe about 5 hours of sleep when you didn't realize you could actually do that.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what motherhood does to you.
You look fresh though, I have to say. You look good.
But that's the thing about children, they revel in every experience.
They do,
right?
and they teach you about things that you'd forgotten, that you knew in childhood, but maybe you'd cast aside as you grew a little older. What experience in my life has made me go? Stories in my life. You were talking about motherhood, that whole experience, and I think that going through the whole pregnancy was incredible, but I'm really proud of the fact that I went through labor without epidural.
Without epidural? You're amazing!
Alright.
Well done!
So I had my husband's music with me on my iPod.
Wow!
And so we were doing the breathing thing, and I was relaxing, and then, those of you who are moms will know that you're supposed to be like 7 cm or something dilated before they'll actually take you seriously that the baby's coming.
Right.
So I was close to that, and I was, the nurse came by and she's, "How are you feeling?" I'm like, "No, I'm okay." She's like, "Oh, wow, you're a trooper."
Wow!
I'm like, "Yeah!"
That's awesome.
So it felt pretty amazing. It felt like, a good milestone. Where do I draw the line? Gee, that's a hard one. I usually do go into my journal to look for song ideas. And I'll draw the line if it gets too cheesy. Like, say, I usually don't get too cheesy, but if there's something there, like if I'm talking about a cat, or something that I don't think people will relate to, like maybe my hamster just passed away. I don't think I'm going to write about that, right? But if it's talking about emotions that I feel that I want to share and I want to get out of my system, I think honesty is pretty good as a policy as a songwriter, because for a lot of the songs that I thought would not work, songs like Fly Away, for example, I thought maybe, I wasn't sure if people would understand the emotions behind having to leave, say, for me it was leaving Singapore and going overseas, and that whole thing about the love of parents having to let, their children go. I thought it was a personal experience until I put it into a song. And then I sang it, and people responded by just writing or letting me know how they had loved ones in their lives who left, who passed on, and that song helped them to grieve or helped them to let go of someone. So it's amazing how songs are bridges for communication, for just sharing feelings, and how people come together through a song just to, bond. I think that's an amazing experience. Oh, backing
For your music career.
Gee, I don't even know how to comprehend that amount of money. I mean, 1 million would be great. 50 million, what would I do? Maybe I'd buy the first thing I would do probably would be to buy a nice grand piano, so that I can play with it, and maybe buy a really cool guitar. Maybe renovate the studio, but also take a trip perhaps and just try to reconnect and get some new song ideas. I don't know if that would take 50 million.
You could do it all over again. 3 times.
Do it all over again.
Thank you.
Yeah, something like that. But the piano would be high on my list.
Oh.
In LA, it's just, let's see. There are a whole bunch of singer-songwriters out there where I'm still constantly learning from, and there's a community there that maybe because I haven't spent all that much time after graduating from college, from school here, I haven't exactly found that network here that I found in LA. But in terms of LA, you have the network is really important. I think that's one of the reasons why me and my husband sort of really like the music industry there. You meet someone and you learn from them, and then they sort of talk about another person, and you keep on just widening your circle. And as a musician, it's really important to sort of challenge yourself and not to sort of be, static, because after you finish one album, there's a little voice at the back of your mind that says, okay, what else can I write about? What else can I sing? And it's good to have that geographical space. That's one thing I noticed between Singapore and LA. When I'm back in LA, I could drive for hours in any direction and still not, I could hit the ocean on one side. I could drive for 2 weeks in the other direction and maybe hit the East Coast. But that whole mental freedom in terms of the geographic space, it does affect the way that you create things. And I like that when I go back to LA, I have my own space. I could drive to the monastery if I needed to in an hour and a half and just be in the middle of a desert with nobody else around and just center myself and write. That's something I probably wouldn't be able to find here. Even though, I have my friends and my family here. That's a benefit of being in Singapore, is to sort of just come together, develop those relationships that I love, that have molded me, sort of zone in on myself. So those two, I feel like I've got one foot in one place and one foot in another, but they all come together to, to make me who I am. And so it's really cool when I come back. I have been forming some relationships too with other musicians here in Singapore, and I think they all come together somehow. I don't know if that really answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd say there are more opportunities now for being a musician than back when I was trying to start out. It's moving definitely in the right direction. You get more people who are sort of exploring their voice, and there are more venues where you can actually get to express those views and maybe your creative say. And I love the fact that they've got a Babies festival. That's wonderful. It's also more nurturing in that sense here in Singapore, because I think, for example, NAC and other organizations have kind of stepped in to have bursaries and scholarships. In fact, I was a recipient of one of the bursaries when I went to Berkeley, and NAC helped out with some of the funding that I had when I went to school in music college in Berkeley. So that's something where you don't really see much of in LA. In LA, it's kind of like you're there by yourself. You kind of float or you sink. You kind of swim or you sink, right? Down here, it's a more nurturing environment, because I think we need to develop the music here. It's not like it's already there. It's kind of growing. You know, it's kind of in its teenager years, and it's good that there is support for it. And I hope the support keeps on growing because it's much needed. For example, I hope to hear more local music on radio, and that's something that hasn't really altogether been addressed. You know, even from the time I started out till now, there have been little steps, but not enough. I think we need to hear more.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, so that would be great.
We'll work on it.
Maybe like a percentage, like 20%.
I know. I feel the same way. I feel the same way.